Good morning. My name is Jack Smith, and I'm a professor at George Washington University Law School in Washington, D.C. I teach a course there. Well, actually, it's now several courses, all with the same name: International Money Laundering, Corruption, and Terrorism. Do you think that's a popular course? You think that'd be fun to take? Well, it's based on a bunch of statutes. The first one being 18 U.S.C. 1956, laundering of monetary instruments. I can always remember that code citation because something very important happened in 1956. Can anybody tell me what it is? Elvis Presley wrote, "You ain't nothing but a hound dog." This particular statute has, it's just part of it. I started out with, whoever knowing that the property involved in a financial transaction represents the proceeds of some form of unlawful activity, conducts or attempts, and you can see you have to have knowledge and you have to have proceeds of crime. It's 3,356 words in that one statute. So when I first started teaching the statute, this is what my class looked like. It was hard to keep attention of all these students. How did I get from that to something they could really be interested in? I mean, money laundering is a very interesting subject. How can I wake these students up? Well, we managed to do it. And we ended up with evaluations that looked like this. I believe this class is the finest course offered at GW Law. The group exercise was among my favorite experiences in law school. Was an exercise. That's what caught their attention. The evidence exercise really provided an opportunity to engage with other students in and out of class and stimulated my interest in money laundering. Students had to bond together. Actually, I'm going to move some of you around to make teams in just a few minutes. You're going to bond together. You're going to see what the students enjoyed. Take this class, the simulation is absolutely amazing. And if you want to be a prosecutor or go into compliance, this is the best class at GW. This is one of the best law courses I've taken, a hands-on exercise that simulates the actual practice of law. Amazing. Law school, teaching you to be a lawyer. Not just theory, not just cases, actual practice. What do you do? The overall course with the multiple sessions of the exercise is just one of the best law courses I've ever taken. You need to start a new law school based on your guys' method, or lobby the administration to let you all train the other professors. What you all do just works. Well, I thought about that one. Should I go out and start a new law school? Well, there's 198 law schools in this country now. Did you know that? You know how many medical schools there are? About the same number, 195. How many veterinary schools? Only 32. But vets are important too. You know that. Well, I decided maybe it would be better to come to Calicon and talk to a bunch of people and get them to take this method back to their law schools, and then I wouldn't have to start my own. So that's why we're all here. So how did we get started with this? Well, it was actually Confucius gave us the idea. He said, what I hear, I forget. What I see, I remember. What I do, I understand. And studies today prove that he was right. If you see the difference between passive learning and active learning, And who retains it and who can take it and employ it and do it later on? Well, it's the people who had active learning. If I told you we're going to take these 350 parts to this automobile engine, and I'm going to teach you how to put it together and run your car. And the way I'm going to do it is with PowerPoint lectures like this, and you get to take notes. And then I'll test you at the end to see if your engines work. Do you think it would really work? Probably not. So how do they teach automotive engineering? They put you in the shop, they give you the wrenches and screwdrivers, and you actually have to do it. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you how we do it. But first, I have a little question for you. In our class, we like to think big, not just Washington, D.C., not the United States, the planet. Okay, this is the first question I ask the students. Think big. What is the single greatest impediment to peace and prosperity on our planet today? Read my list. Okay, I've got all these brilliant people here, librarians who know everything, lawyers who think they know everything. Who's got the first answer? What's your guess? Back in the back. 13, poor education. An excellent choice. Not the right one. Next guess. 3, inequality and joblessness. Another big problem on this planet. Incorrect. Next. Corruption. Bingo. You got it. Now, did I just make that up? Let's not mince words. In the developing world, corruption is public enemy number 1, says the World Bank. Corruption is the most important challenge facing Latin America, OECD chief says. It's not me telling you. Corruption is the most, so you're going to learn a few things in this class. Corruption is the biggest problem on this planet. And you read about it in the papers every day and don't pay any attention to it. I just threw some out here from, how about FIFA, if you like sports? How about our own congressman? How about Brazil? How about Manafort? It's in the papers every day. Pull it together. So I put this little tree, and now other classes I found, I was at the United Nations Convention Against Corruption conference of states parties in December. And I'm at a lecture and another professor is using my tree. This is what it was for, though. I want everybody to use my tree. Okay, here's a quote from Henry David Thoreau. There are 1,000 hacking at the branches of evil to one who is striking at the root. So here's the branches of evil: environmental calamities, global warming, inequality and joblessness, poor education, war, terrorism, crime. So there's a lot of people fighting every one of these. But how many people are down there striking at what creates those wars, those revolutions, those environmental calamities, the inequality and joblessness, the poor education? It's corruption. So I spend a lot of time trying to convince my students right at the beginning that this course is important. This is the reason you're taking about it. And I think every course at GW Law and at your law schools is important also. Take patent law. The patent professors get right up there at the very beginning and convince their people, you know, patent's a really boring subject, I hate to tell you. But do they tell them, hey, patent law is important to this economy. We protect inventions, and inventors go out there and create things, and that causes growth to the economy and creates jobs, and it's very important. Get them stimulated, get them thinking about it. So I use slides like this. This is, in 1992, the Italians had a mafia commission to go after the mafia. And this one guy, Gaspar Matolio, he was great. They asked him a question, well, what can we do to stop this? And he says, the worst feeling is when our money is taken away from us. People prefer to be put behind bars and keep their money than to stay free without the money. Money is the main thing. So many of our prosecutors, it's hard to go after the money. It's easy to put them in jail. They come out of jail, they have their $10 million that they stole. Oh, if you read his quote, our money is taken. He stole it fair and square. It's our money now, right? You got to take it away from them. So the next thing we do is inspire the students by, what are they interested in? Jobs. So we tell them how many jobs are available for people who take this class. And yes, the people who've taken our class, and we get a lot of international students that come just to take this class, they get jobs. And look at all the places you can get the jobs. We tell them international organizations like the UN, regional development banks, non-governmental organizations like Transparency International and Global Witness, regulatory enforcement agencies like Department of Justice, the FBI, SEC, my agency, the FDIC. I was chief of litigation at the FDIC for 10 years. We recovered $6 billion from the bad guys. So that's how I got into this business in the first place. Banks, financial services corporations, multinational companies, big companies, Siemens, Exxon, General Motors, all the big banks, they have to comply with the laws, not just in the United States, but with the laws of every other country they're doing business in. So these compliance officers, we call them, are in great demand today. They're one of the hottest fields going. The companies are stealing compliance officers from each other, people with experience. People that take our course have a leg up for getting these jobs. And of course, law and accounting firms, they all have these people. So what does our game look like? And are we just using it for law schools? No, we don't. Now, let's see if I can get it to play.
High-stakes fraud, a world of illicit luxury, and a corrupt government official. A newspaper article tips off international investigators. A huge bribery scheme is run by a man called Juan Ladron, and investigators turn every stone to get evidence that holds up in court. That Juan Ladron, head of a procurement agency, apparently displays wealth that is untypical for somebody on a government paycheck. Similar to real-life cases, investigators can ask authorities for information, surveillance, and arrest warrants.
All of the elements that you're going to find in this simulated investigation actually came from real cases.
The clues are hidden in a trove of information. Both teams have to look for needles in a haystack, search bank accounts, and public records. This hunt will not be easy. And it turns out the mechanism of fraud follows the same rules around the world. Connecting the dots between the alleged owners of luxury real estate, cars, boats, and their relationship to Ladron seems a good point of departure. The surveillance produces clear evidence. Juan Ladron has a girlfriend and her name is familiar to the investigators. She is the front woman for some of Ladron's enterprises. The teams have caught up with Ladron, who made a tiny but fatal mistake. A rather insignificant transaction in his account reveals the scheme, evidence that will count in court.
Now, that video goes on for 12 minutes. I gave you 90 seconds. It was put together by the World Bank. That was those two teams. We're going to divide you into teams. Those two teams, one was from Chile, one was from Peru. We conducted the whole exercise in Spanish. So you can see they loved it. Both of them learned a lot. It's not just for lawyers. It's not just for prosecutors. It's not just for investigators. It's compliance officers, people who are not lawyers and banks. The game can be played by anybody. You don't have to be a lawyer. You have to be somebody who likes investigations. Maybe you like programs on television like CSI or Miami Vice, or one of my favorites, JAG. Anybody watch JAG? Anybody know about it? Nobody. He was a Marine Corps prosecutor, okay? I was in the Marine Corps, so I love that program. But you don't have to be a lawyer. So especially the librarians should be doing really well here. So I want to divide everybody into teams. You're mostly, I know you don't like to sit together because you don't like each other maybe, but part of the exercise is working together. Lawyers have to learn to collaborate together. And a team of 5 comes up with a lot more ideas on how to solve the mysteries and follow the money than does a team of 1. So I'm going to call this team number 1. You guys get together where you can talk. First thing you do is introduce yourselves to each other so you know who you are. Just say what your name is, what university you're from, and what you do at that university. Okay, team 2 right here. Team 3 back there. Team 4, 5, 6, and 7.
With 13 online attendees, how do you want them?
How do I have what?
With 13 online attendees.
We can have all 13 be one team. So can you tell them? Okay, so we have an online. We have 13 people online, and they will be one team. Okay, do you all know who each other are now? Good, you're going to be working together. You are a prosecuting team. You work for the federal government. You have all the powers of a prosecuting office. You can interview witnesses. You can do a surveillance. How about just searching for evidence, open source information on the internet? If you want information from a bank or business records, you may have to file a subpoena. You can analyze bank records and find financial information. How about a search warrant? Pretty cool. Go in there, search the whole place, locate and review public records. There's so much that's available from the government files you can ask for. And if you need information overseas, you have to file a mutual legal assistance request. This is how the investigators and lawyers learn playing the game. But because there's 70 pieces of evidence here, you don't have time to play the whole game. So we're going to play just a piece of it. Maybe we'll be lucky to get through 10 pieces of evidence here. But if you want to go to France and interview witnesses over there, you might say, oh, this is cool. My witness is in Paris. I'm just going to hop over there and interview them. You'll be arrested and you can go to jail for 5 years because you're invading France's sovereignty, huh? So no, you have to follow the procedures. We file for mutual legal assistance to get France to help us, see. And sometimes they'll let you in, but sometimes they'll say, oh, send us your questions. We'll go interview this witness and send you the answers. So you have to be careful about little things like this. Now, here's the evidence. You say, oh, this is really great. Professor Smith gives us all the evidence right up front. And I do that. All the students get all 70 pieces of evidence. And they say, ooh, I can go charge ahead of everybody else. But let's see what happens if you want evidence number 3. Oh, shoot. They're all password protected. You have to ask Professor Smith for the password. So you have to ask the right questions. So we're going to follow the money. But with 70 pieces of evidence, you would say, how am I ever going to keep track of that? Are you going to have big piles of evidence around your office? No, actually, we're going to teach you how to keep an evidence log. And here's what a sample of an evidence log is. The document number, who's the witness on that document number, how can you describe it? Maybe Dan Fleming is the CEO of Mallory Motors. And is there anything we can forfeit? Because what are we after? Not just to put him in jail. We want the money and we want everything he stole. And we're going to get it by the time we finish this exercise. Oh, we also have hyperlinks. And we teach, you know what? It's embarrassing, but people get to law school and they don't know how to use Word, and they don't know how to use PowerPoint, and they don't know how to use Excel. You know, one of our sponsors out there has a table. Have you stopped by there? What they're doing is they have a whole course on how to use all these devices for lawyers. I think that might be worthwhile for us to look into. But I'm not going to show you how to do hyperlinks right now. I'm going to show you the effect of a hyperlink. If I've got 70 pieces of evidence, I hyperlinked just one for you. Let's see if it works. It was working a minute ago, but it's taking too long to work. So on this particular computer, on your home computers, it'll come right up, the document, every piece of evidence. You won't have to go back and forth. You'll be able to get it here as you've hyperlinked it. Now, in this particular case, we're going to start out with evidence number 1. and it's a newspaper article. The name of the country that you are the prosecuting officers for is called Hypotheca. Does anybody know where I got that name? It's hypothetical, right? Hypotheca, okay. And let me see if I can reduce its size. Tobias can help me get it down to where I can read the whole document at one time. Okay. That's good. Can you read that? I'll make it bigger. Okay, a little bit bigger. Tobias? In fact, I really only need paragraphs, these two paragraphs right here. So we'll make that big enough for them to read. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so this reporter, he's not really a reporter. He's a real estate agent who has filed this document, and they have printed it in the local paper, and he's upset because one of the officials in the government seems to be living high and mighty on a small salary. And so he says, Ladrone, the director of procurement at the powerful National Development Agency, earns a modest government salary, but maintains a luxurious home at Starlight City in the exclusive Southeast resort area of our country that is valued at 2 million euros. It's registered in the name of a corporation, but the director and his family, they're the ones that appear to be the true owners. And this real estate agent has heard that Ladrone has filed a declaration of assets. All government officials are required to do that. Beneficial interests and liabilities with the Ethics Commission, and he doesn't believe that property is listed there. And that would be a perjury violation if that is true. Neighbors who walk by the home at Starlight City say that a very expensive Mercedes is usually parked in the driveway and wonder how a public servant can afford this type of car. Now, would we open an investigation on the basis of a newspaper article like this? Your boss would probably say you needed more to do that. And newspaper guys, might be true, might be fake news. But lo and behold, and I have another document, which is number 4. We get what's called a spontaneous transmittal from the Swiss government. And how do you make them go up and down on this, Tobias? Oh, this little wheel? Okay, it's different than my Mac. And the Swiss government says that they have an account that looks suspicious to them at Alps National Credit Bank in Switzerland. The name of the account name is Allied Transportation Holding Company. And Juan Ladrone, the director of procurement, has an interest in that account. Now, do you have enough information to open an investigation? Yes, you would open an investigation. So you have this information. What's the first thing you would do? Think about it as your money. and you want to investigate, is this guy dirty or is he clean? What information do you have? You have these three things. What would you do? Team one, what would you do? First thing. Go ahead. 30 seconds to confirm. Everybody's got it.
Money laundering.
All right, team one, are you ready? What's the first thing you want to do? How are you going to do that? How do you know who owns the vacation property? Yes, it was that there was a vacation property. It didn't say who owns it. What's the address of that vacation property?
Well, I don't know.
Not provided in the article, was it? You see the problems that investigators have? Team, is this 6? 7. What would you want to do? First thing.
You want to find whatever the law is that governs non-disclosure of assets. So
The law.
you look for a statute.
Okay, yes, there is a statute, and it provides that it's perjury if you don't disclose something on your disclosure form. But what do you want to do now that you know the law? Open the investigation and look at what? And the Swiss will not give you information. In fact, that's very interesting. The reason that's in there, the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, which you learn about in class, is signed by 190 countries. Almost everybody, except for places like Somalia and North Korea, right? But it provides that countries, when they come across evidence like this, shall give another country warning about corrupt or possibly corrupt situations, which they did do here. But they will not give you any follow-up information, as they said in that letter, unless you have your own investigation and you come up with your own independent information tying it together. So now you have this piece of information, but you can't get any more from the Swiss until you get more information about Juan Ladrón. So that's how, you see how students learn? By doing just what you're doing. They make suggestions that they want to do this or they want to do that, but they can't do it. And in saying they can't do it, in that failure, they learn the law. So in every failure, there's a success. And I'm going to come back to that point again in a little bit. Okay, this team, what do you want to do? First thing. No ideas? It's your money. Millions are out there. I'd have an idea.
We're looking at transactions.
Kibosh that one. Who's got an idea? It's your money. Where is the car? You don't know yet where it is.
The neighbors have said, so get a picture, do a trace on the car.
There are 500 homes in this neighborhood and probably 40 Mercedes registered there. Common sense, that's all this is. It's common sense. What's,
Would you reach out to the reporter?
yes, the guy wants to talk, right? He's written an article and put it in the newspaper. Yes, we'll talk to the reporter, follow up. He must know more than he's talked about. He's very upset. And the second thing you want to do, you guys are right close to it. Why didn't you say, I want a copy of that declaration of assets? Don't say, I want to know what the law is about it. I want it. I want to look at it. I want to see what's on it. Is there a Mercedes on it? Maybe. Maybe not. Okay. Now we're cooking. So you want to look at the declaration of assets. Okay, it's not coming up, Tobias. Okay, you can X out of that one because we don't need it anymore. So we're going to need number 2. Evidence 2. Okay, it's password protected. Now the professor has this handy dandy sheet, one for each team, so he can mark off the pieces of evidence when you get them. And it's got the password. So I know that the password for this particular one is and here's what a declaration of assets looks like. And you can go through with it, and lo and behold, bank account that he lists, he has $5,000 in it. Bank accounts are gold. When you can get a bank account number, put that down. I want to look at that bank account. He says he has no stocks or bonds. Cool. Makes it easy. Personal residence and a vacation condo at Diamond Valley. He has one Honda SUV, no machinery, currency not in banks, 3,000, just a little bit. He's got mortgages on the house and the condo. And his income, the only income he has every year is $117,840 from the National Development Agency. And he has signed under penalty of perjury. So what would we follow up on first here? And I'll tell you, the answer is we check everything. Remember you said public records? Verify the statements, the public records on the houses. Find out what you can about the cars, because we suspect everything now. But what's the first thing you would want to look at if you wanted to know about this guy's money?
Bank.
Bank. Bank. Then you go to evidence 5. This seems to go pretty slowly. Evidence 5. I look at my little sheet. And here is his bank records from 2016 to 2019. Now, how did I get those bank records? This is interesting that law students don't know this. When they come in, they say, okay, you said you want the bank records, right? I put on my hat. I say, I am the bank manager. Go ahead and present your request. It's very simple, just logical.
It's a P-
You need a subpoena because there are only two ways you can get bank records in this country. The first way is if you have a signed authorization from the account holder or you have a subpoena. And did I not tell you at the beginning that you had subpoena power? Slap it on your desk. Well, why didn't you say so in the first place? I will give you those bank records. And you get this Excel spreadsheet, and there's 800 entries in there, all chronological. Look at all of them. How are you going to find what's suspicious? What do you need to do? You guys are all younger than me, so you know how to handle Excel. What would you do?
Sorted by source or disposition.
Have you done this before?
I went to GW.
Did you take my course already? All right, yes. Sort. But then I get these law students that don't know how to sort Excel. So then I have to teach them, okay, all you have to do is go up here to this little button. This says sort and filter. And it's got a little drop down, sort A to Z. Let's do that. Well, we want to put our little cursor here. Highlight this first, and then sort. Should sort. Huh. So it's sorted. So now you've aggregated everything in categories and you can read it. What's the first one you see? All world insurance, boat insurance. That's probably no big deal, so we don't need to look into that, right?
I didn't see a boat.
No boat on the I. It was probably a rowboat, so he doesn't really need to list that, right? $2,400, that's no rowboat. Yes. Oh my goodness, there's an inconsistency already. Do you think we should look into that? Heck yes. And how would we look into it? Next question. Do the teams want to collaborate? Or does somebody already know? Not
And the insurance.
do what? Well, an insurance company, you might not have to file a subpoena. You might just go and interview them. Now, poop, that must be a big boat. Okay, I can tell you that my little sheet does take you to an interview with the head of the insurance company. Because we don't have, am I running out of time already? No. I'm running out of time. I'll tell you that the insurance company says, yes, there is a boat. It's a 40-foot sailing yacht. It's worth $100,000 and tells you where it's anchored and stowed, and you can go, then you would go look at that, take pictures of that, and talk. So now you know, oh dear, oh dear. So you write that one down. Now, ATM withdrawals, boy, there's a lot of ATM withdrawals, but they're not for big numbers. House mortgage, that doesn't look suspicious. They get a lot of massages from Carlos Spa. Ooh, a lot. Who's getting all them? I wonder if it's the girlfriend. Maybe it's the wife. Okay, Visa payments from Citibank. Okay. There's this one little entry here, $70, derivative investment company dividend disbursement. He said no stocks. But it's only $70, so who cares, right? What, you do care? Oh, see, you guys would do really well in the class. Yes, yes. So what we do is we go to derivative investment and we do another interview. And it turns out that there's $1.5 million there. But that $70 to Juan Ladrone's account was a mistake, because Juan Ladrone is only managing the account for his brother-in-law, who is an imbecile. And that's why he has to do that. Now, with that information, what might you want to do? That's a good question. Yes, you'd want to follow up and get the source of funds for that. And the next thing you'd want to do, her question was if he's an imbecile. I think she doubts he's an imbecile. Why don't we go interview the brother-in-law? Huh? So we go and we interview the brother-in-law, and he answers the door, and he's a plumber. And he's not an imbecile at all. He goes out to people's houses and fixes them and does a lot of work. He remembers a conversation with Juan Ladrone about signing something just for convenience sake, having to do with some investments. And so he did sign that. He doesn't remember what it is. But can you see how the plot thickeneth? You can see how you follow the money. Now there's 5 schemes in this altogether, and they all interrelate, and they take you across borders into different countries, and you get to pull back money from all around the world and put Juan Ladrone in jail, is what you want to do. But the students, they love the exercise. They have a lot of fun with it. They learn a lot. And it's just, as you can see, mostly common sense. What would you do? If there was somebody wrote an article and you wanted to know the address of this property, but it's not in the article, you go and interview the guy that wrote the article and see if he knows the address. There's 50 Mercedes in this thing, but now you have the address. How do you find out who owns the Mercedes? And law students, it takes them a while to figure this out because they're not used to thinking with common sense. What would you do? Well, now that I have the address, and the reporter said the Mercedes was parked at the property, I think I'll just mosey over there with my little camera and take a picture. Doggone, the Mercedes is there. And you now have the license number. What can you do with the license number? You go to DMV, right? What would you do? You see how you follow the trails? Okay. I think you get the idea of what the exercise is about. Now, we've played enough because we're going to run out of time. You thought just because you had fun playing the exercise that you were done. No, there's a midterm examination. Okay, Tobias, how do I get my, I just want to X out of here and bring this one up. Yeah, I don't need that anymore. I have to do a lot to get out of here. Huh? Cancel. Well, it makes you go through everything. Anyway, the midterm examination counts for 35% of the grade. And so people take it very seriously. The final exam is 65%. Because we have so many international students, and they have definitely not thought about things this way. Still not up. Yeah, get this up. We made up templates so we organize their thoughts for themselves. We have a little narrative that they write to summarize what the wrongdoing was. And then we want you to match the evidence with the elements of the crime, because the elements of the crime are what we live and die by, whether you're a prosecutor or a defense counsel. Elements of the crime. Prosecutor has to satisfy all 4 of them. In this case, knowledge, proceeds, predicate crimes. So you can see how we divided it up for them like this. And we make little boxes for them. For example, in the last one, you see for each element of the money laundering offense that you choose, identify each element of the violation in the boxes below, and identify every piece of evidence, citing the evidence number that proves that element. So they don't get off with just the fun. Now, why am I putting games into law school classes? I'll start out with elementary school classes. There's no difference. The elementary school classes, the middle school, the high school, the college undergraduates, games are what inspire them these days, because for some reason, because of TikTok and cell phones and video games, the attention, has anybody noticed? The attention span of students is not what it once was. Today, it's like a squirrel. If you don't catch them within 1 minute, they're on some cell phone or they're ordering clothes off of the computer, which I allow them to bring computers into the class. So most of them are taking notes, but some of them, who knows what they're doing. But the games are what keeps their attention. They listen to every word of the lecture because they're going to need those pieces of fact and law to win the game. That's why they listen. This kid, has anybody seen this picture before? There was a lecture, TED Talk lecture given by Jane McGonigal back in 2010, and she was talking about how many people are playing games these days. You know, kids, even adults, the average is 10 to 11 hours a week playing games. It's what they want to do. This kid is on the verge of an epic win. Does anybody know what any gamers here? Anybody know what an epic win is? What's an epic win, Tobias? It's the big finish. It's something that's so fantastic. You've been playing this game for 10 hours and you have failed and failed and failed, But now, I think I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. If I just go here, I'm going to get look at the excitement and the intensity on his face. That's the intensity we want on our law school classes. Somebody who's so interested in it, totally absorbed. He's on the verge of an epic win. And so are the people in our exercise. They know they're going to get the bad guy. They're going to get the money back, and they're going to give it to the victims. And they're going to be there when they give it to the victims. Now, I asked this one, what do these jobs have in common? And I guess you already know the answer. They all use video game simulations to train. Where does that lead me? Leads me to my video game.
It's a day like any day, a city like any city. A lot of people doing a lot of jobs, working hard, playing by the rules. And then there's the others. The ones who maybe don't play so nice. Not a lot of them, thank God, but enough. The ones who can spoil it for everybody. Corruption, graft, money laundering. You don't want them to get away with it. Neither do we. This game can help train your people to run an investigation, get a conviction, and confiscate illegal assets. Your job is to start an investigation, either decide there's no evidence of wrongdoing, or find enough to get through a case review. You'll follow the leads, build your case bit by bit. You'll be guiding Ben Fields, field agent with the State Office of Investigations, helping him decide what to do next.
So the idea here is that instead of having to do, I spend 10 hours of class time doing exactly what I've been doing with you guys, maybe it could be done as homework. And you could play the game at home if I had it on a video game. And I believe that putting games into your classroom like this is a way to keep your students engaged. And no matter what your subject is, I can make a game, really cool game out of constitutional law, patent law, real estate law. You take actual cases and you make them into a game. You give the students obstacles that they have to overcome with knowledge of the law. And that's how they learn it. And they learn it really well, just by doing it. So I leave you with Einstein. Learning is experience. Everything else, that's just information. Any questions? Who goes first? There you go.
I just wondered, so you had a sense of disengagement before, there was a sense of engagement now. You had a sense of disengagement that you showed us earlier before you used the game, and you have a real sense of clear engagement now. In terms of students attaining the outcomes, the learning that they're supposed to learn about during the course, do you have a sense of that? I mean, in other words, did grades go up? Do students perform better on exercises comparatively before and after? Do you have any of that sort of sense of things?
Not really. We grade on a curve, and so it comes out with the same distribution every year.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, that the number of students wanting to take the class has expanded exponentially. That's why we started out the first class in 2010, we had 16 students. And we capped the class so that we can do the exercise at 25 students. So we can give them hands-on at the exercise. And now there's 3 students a year, 3 classes a year now. So that's 75. And they want us to do a 4th one. So I can't do them all. So I've recruited people who are like the former prosecutor for Alan Stanford. Well, you've all heard about Madoff, but not about Stanford probably. He was the mini Madoff. He stole $7.5 billion and took over the island of Antigua. And they made, oh, you know about him? Oh, you met him. Did he take your money?
Luckily enough, I didn't have enough money to interest it.
So, yeah, we have, the prosecutor is now one of our professors doing that. And the war stories we have in this class are just great. They made him Sir Alan, right? Sir Alan Stanford, till they found out he was just robbing all your money. That's all. He's in jail now, incidentally, thank goodness. Other questions over here?
Yes, where is the game available?
Give her the
How
mic.
do I get it?
Okay, I'll repeat the question. The question is, where is the game available and how do I get it? The game is been farmed out to only one other university right now, University of Washington in St. Louis. You know, this is interesting. I see some karma here. We are at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. The course is also at Washington University in St. Louis. And now I'm at University of Washington in Washington State. So a lot of Washingtons going here. But the game isn't really available except if you come and get trained by us, then like the guys from University of Washington did. And then we give it to you for free. But what I'd really like to do is set up something where I could train a lot of people from a lot of law schools so that, just think, if you believe, which I do, the biggest problem in the world is corruption, why isn't every law school teaching how to fight corruption? They're not. They're not. And it's too bad. Other questions? Okay, I'll stick around. Anybody has any private questions? Thanks for coming. No. Okay.
You gotta just. That's right.
Disarm me.
They disarm me.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
this is-
Mary.
This is my. I teach in this region.
Oh,
I just want to say, I noticed that you were also GW grad. And, law grad and undergrad. My
where
group
does
of-
it say that?
Oh, I just looked on the GW
Oh,
website because I was like, I really did. I grew up in DC by '82. I went away to college, but I went to GW Law.
oh.
And so